Do you always feel like proving yourself is never enough? If so, you probably struggle with self-compassion. But why is this the case? This is probably the case because you have a distorted understanding of love or the experience of love when you're a child, especially if you received conditional love, not unconditional love, but conditional love from your parents as a child. Now, this form of love, which is contingent on meeting certain standards or expectations, can significantly impact one's self-perception and impact their emotional health. When children grow up under something like the shadow of conditional love, something that isn't unconditional as a child, a harsh inner critic often emerges from conditional love itself. This inner critic constantly puts the individual or the child down, perpetuating feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. These children, when they experience conditional love, they learn early on that their worth or their self-worth is tied to their achievements, their specific behaviors, or the ability to meet their parents' expectations. It is not grounded on something that is unconditional. And therefore, they internalize the belief that love must be earned, not given freely by their parents on an unconditional basis. Now, unconditional love is the cornerstone for developing a healthy self-image. It provides a safe space for children to express their emotions, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes that they have made without internalizing the harmful message that their worth is conditional, dependent on the fulfillment of certain standards or expectations or things of themselves that their parents put onto them. So when children receive unconditional love, they learn to accept themselves for who they are, and this acceptance is crucial for fostering self-compassion, for fostering resilience, for fostering a positive self-image. If you have conditional love when you're a child, you're much more likely to develop things that criticize you within your mind continuously into adulthood. And this is where the idea of the inner critic or self-limiting belief come into play here massively. So what would you say are the long-term side effects of conditional love? Unfortunately, when love is conditional, the repercussions can echo into adulthood, as I was saying. And adults who grew up with conditional love often grapple with self-doubt, perfectionism, and an ongoing struggle to prove themselves constantly, but never at the same time feeling enough while doing so. And these tendencies are the antithesis of self-compassion, creating a persistent inner conflict that can be exhausting and demoralizing for the individual. Now, if this is the case for you personally, the inner child, psychologically speaking, often and probably will deeply resonate with this kind of narrative in which I'm playing out to you. With regards to these feelings, the voice of negativity within you is a conditioned response, in this case, born from the experiences of your childhood that received conditional love and not unconditional love. This inner critic, therefore, is not your true self, but rather a manifestation of the distorted messages you received when growing up. And this is the emergence of something in psychology in which we call cognitive distortions, or the psychological definition of logical fallacies that you find in philosophy that are just applied to one's own mindset and kind of self-analysis. So how do you break free from this inner critic that is constantly pulling you down into demoralization? The good news is that this cycle of conditional love can be broken, of course. You can rewrite the narrative of your childhood experiences by challenging the inner critic it produced when you were a child. So here are some steps to learn how to break from its grip. 1, you want to recognize what the inner critic actually is. You want to understand that the voice of negativity within you is a conditioned response, not your true self. You want to acknowledge its presence, but don't let it define you as a person. And then, of course, 2, you want to challenge the critic. Counter the inner critic's pronouncements with evidence of your strengths and accomplishments. Remind yourself of times when you succeeded, were kind, or showed resilience in the face of difficulties. Remind yourself of positive attributes of yourself, and this will help weaken the inner critic's influence over time, because the inner critic is reinforced by thoughts and opinions of expectational narratives that you received when you were a child. So if you can break those down by reinforcing positive attributes of yourself, that can massively help. And 3, you want to cultivate self-compassion. So you want to practice self-compassion by treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. This involves forgiving yourself for mistakes, recognizing your inherent worth, and accepting yourself as you are in the many different facets of positive attributes that you have. You want to build more self-awareness also. Become more conscious of the unconscious biases that your past traumas have instilled within you. By doing so, you can start to dismantle these biases, these cognitive biases that you may have, and replace them with healthier, more empowering beliefs that are more beneficial for you. And of course, you want to seek support for this kind of stuff. You want to consider seeking support from a therapist or a coach, like the stuff that I do. I mean, I mostly work with people on this kind of thing. I recently just booked in a new client for helping him tackle intrusive thoughts. And some of the stuff that we do, a lot we're going into at the moment, is cognitive behavioral methods of doing so, where you try and understand logical fallacies, you understand cognitive distortions, you understand how they work, and how you can try and dismantle certain beliefs, certain intrusive thoughts that you have, and apply an analysis of that specific thought or belief or stuck point that you have to a list of cognitive distortions. You want to break it down, see how it applies to the definitions and descriptions of cognitive distortions that there are, so that you can reconstruct and alter that original intrusive thought into something that's more based in reality, based on the positive attributes of the person. So this kind of stuff is very much important. It's very necessary. Socratic questioning, stuff like this. You really ask, why does this thing exist? Where is it coming from? And oftentimes, you could say even on an objective level, that conditional love is the bedrock to producing a lot of these, a very harsh inner critic that can very much break down your sense of self and sense of self-worth. So if you resonated with this video and you're interested in trying to break some of these things down so that you can build your confidence, build your self-esteem, break down intrusive thoughts, self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back, then I very much recommend you booking a free one-on-one coaching call with me, where we can talk exactly about how we can do this on a very efficient and productive level. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, comment your thoughts down below, and I will speak to you in the next video.